everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. This time we're taking a look at the advantages and disadvantages of the internet. It's such a big topic these days, and there's always something new to consider.
It really is, and it's amazing how much it's changed over the years.
Yeah.
Even just in the past few years with the rise of AI and things like the metaverse.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really excited to break it all down today. You know, when I was looking over all the stuff you sent me, I started thinking about that article on libraries.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, in a way, isn't the internet kind of like the ultimate library?
That's a really interesting way to put it. In some ways, it's like a natural evolution from physical libraries.
Oh.
I mean, think about it. You've got access to information 24/7,
Yeah.
just like you said. The ultimate library.
Exactly. And it's not just books and articles, it's everything. Just last week, I had to fix a broken zipper on my jacket. I probably would have just tossed it before, but I hopped online, found a YouTube tutorial, and boom, fixed it myself.
That's awesome. It's amazing how the internet empowers us to learn new things and solve problems. And speaking of learning, one of the things that really stood out to me from your research was how much online education has taken off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've taken some online courses yourself, right?
Definitely. And it's not just for personal development either. Businesses are using it for training. Universities are offering full degrees online. It's revolutionizing the way we learn.
It really is. And what's so cool is that you can learn pretty much anything you can think of. Coding, graphic design, new languages, even stuff like cooking or music production. The possibilities are endless.
Totally. And it's not just about learning new skills. It's also about connecting with others who share your interests. Like you were saying about online communities.
Right, like that article you sent about the rise of the gig economy.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people are finding work and building businesses completely online.
It's definitely reshaped the way we think about work. Freelancing, remote work, online businesses. It's creating a lot more flexibility and opportunities for people.
For sure. And none of that would be possible without the internet's ability to connect people globally. We can video chat with family on the other side of the world, work on projects with colleagues across continents. It's incredible.
I know, it's so easy to take it for granted sometimes. I remember when I was a kid, long-distance calls were a big deal.
Yeah.
Now we can video chat with anyone practically for free.
I know, right? It's like the world has gotten so much smaller. And that brings up something you mentioned earlier about online communities. The internet has this amazing power to connect people who might never have met otherwise.
Totally. People with shared hobbies, niche interests, that they can all find each other and connect online. It's like the internet has created this whole new level of social interaction.
And let's not forget the entertainment side of things. The internet has become the go-to place for movies, TV shows, music, gaming, you name it.
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of streaming services myself. It's so convenient to have all that content right at your fingertips.
Me too. And social media too. It's
Wow.
a great way to stay connected with friends and family, see what's going on in the world.
Absolutely. It's like having this constant stream of information and entertainment. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is. But of course, every coin has two sides, right? We've talked about all these incredible benefits, but what about the downsides?
That's a great point. We definitely need to talk about that too. The internet isn't all sunshine and rainbows. There are some serious challenges and risks that we need to address.
Exactly. So let's shift gears a bit and explore some of the less glamorous aspects of the internet. This is where things start to get really interesting. One of the things that really struck me when I was reading that article you sent about internet addiction was how easy it is to get sucked in. You know, you start scrolling through social media or browsing online and suddenly hours have gone by.
Oh, absolutely. It's like you get into this trance and the algorithms are designed to keep you engaged. So you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
Exactly. I know. I've definitely been there. Like late at night, I find myself going down these rabbit holes on Wikipedia or reading article after article, and then I look at the clock and it's like 2 a.m.
Yeah. It's so easy to lose track of time. And it's not just social media either. It could be online shopping or gaming or even just reading news articles. There's just so much content out there. And it's available 24/7.
It's like a never-ending buffet. And then there's the whole issue of cybersecurity. I mean, I read that news report you sent about that data breach. It's scary how much personal information is out there.
It is. And it's becoming more and more of a concern. You know, you were saying earlier that you were hesitant to bank online for a long time because of security worries.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It took me a while to get comfortable with the idea. But eventually I realized that it was just becoming too inconvenient to do everything in person.
Right. And I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
But it's still important to be aware of the risks and to take steps to protect yourself, like using strong passwords and being careful about what information you share online.
Absolutely. And speaking of being careful online, we have to talk about misinformation and fake news. I mean, that documentary you recommended was really eye-opening. It's amazing how quickly false information can spread online.
It's incredibly fast. And it can be really hard to tell what's true and what's not, especially with social media where anyone can share anything.
Right. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. There's just so much information coming at you from all directions, and it's not always easy to filter out the noise.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of algorithms.
Yeah.
Those things that control what you see on social media, they can actually create these filter bubbles where you're only exposed to information that confirms your existing beliefs.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely noticed that. It's like you end up in this echo chamber where everyone is saying the same things, and you don't get exposed to different perspectives.
Which could be really dangerous because it prevents us from having meaningful conversations and understanding different points of view.
Absolutely. And it makes it even harder to spot fake news because you're not getting a balanced perspective.
Exactly. So it's really important to be aware of these filter bubbles and to try to break out of them by seeking out information from a variety of sources.
Yeah. For sure. And speaking of things that can be dangerous online, cyberbullying is a huge problem. I mean, that article you sent about the impact on teenagers was really heartbreaking.
It's a serious issue.
Oh.
And it's not just limited to teenagers either. Adults can be victims of cyberbullying too. It's any form of harassment or bullying that takes place online.
Yeah.
And it can have a devastating impact on people's mental health.
Absolutely. And then there's the whole issue of privacy. I always feel a little uneasy about how much data companies are collecting on our online activity.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern. It's like we're constantly being tracked and monitored, and our data is being used for all sorts of things like targeted advertising and even facial recognition.
It's a bit creepy when you think about it, and it makes you wonder where the line is between convenience and privacy.
Exactly. It's a complex issue.
Yeah.
There's no easy answer. But I think it's important to be aware of how our data is being used.
Yeah.
And to make informed choices about what we're comfortable sharing.
Totally. And then there's the irony of it all. The internet is supposed to connect people, but sometimes it can actually lead to social isolation.
That's true.
Yeah.
You can have thousands of online friends, but still feel lonely and disconnected in real life.
Exactly. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that online interactions are often superficial. It's not the same as spending time with someone face to face.
Right. You miss out on all those nonverbal cues like body language and tone of voice.
Yeah.
Which can make it harder to build genuine connections.
Totally. And speaking of missing out on things, I know I've definitely experienced eye strain and headaches after spending too much time online. And then there's the whole sedentary lifestyle that comes with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're not designed to sit in front of screens all day long. We need to get up and move our bodies and get some fresh air.
Absolutely. So it's all about finding that balance between our online and offline lives and making sure that we're using the internet in a way that's healthy and productive.
I agree. And I think that's a perfect segue into our next segment, where we'll explore some practical tips for harnessing the power of the internet while mitigating its downsides.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the incredible advantages of the internet, the way it connects us, informs us, entertains us. But we've also talked about the downsides, the potential for addiction, the risks to our privacy and security, the spread of misinformation.
It's a complex landscape for sure, and it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
But I think the key takeaway here is that the internet is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Exactly. It's all about how we use it. So let's talk about some practical tips for harnessing the power of the internet while minimizing the risks. One thing I've been trying to do lately is set time limits for myself. Like for social media, it's so easy to get sucked into the scroll.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I've been there too. It's like you just lose track of time, and before you know it, you've wasted an hour or two just scrolling through your feed.
Exactly. So now I set a timer on my phone, and when the timer goes off, I put the phone down, no matter what. It's been really helpful.
That's a great idea. I'm going to have to try that myself. And I think it's also important to be mindful of the content we're consuming. Are we reading things that are informative and uplifting? Or are we just doom scrolling and getting stressed out?
Right. It's like a mental diet. We need to be careful about what we're feeding our minds. And speaking of being careful online, we talked about cybersecurity earlier. I know I'm much more cautious now about what links I click on and what information I share.
Yeah, me too. It's so important to be vigilant and to keep your software updated and to use strong passwords. All those things can make a big difference.
Absolutely. And when it comes to misinformation, I've learned to be much more skeptical of what I see online, especially on social media.
It's like the old saying, don't believe everything you read. But it's even more important in the digital age because information spreads so quickly, and it can be hard to tell what's real and what's not.
Exactly. So fact-checking is essential. And I also try to get my news from a variety of sources, so I'm not just getting one perspective.
That's a great idea. It's all about being a critical thinker
Yeah.
and not just blindly accepting everything you see online.
Right. And I think another important thing is to remember that the internet is not a substitute for real life. We need to make sure we're still getting out there, interacting with people face to face, building real relationships.
Absolutely. It's so easy to get caught up in the virtual world. But we need to make time for the things that really matter, like spending time with loved ones, or pursuing our hobbies, or just being in nature.
It's all about finding that balance and making sure that technology is enhancing our lives, not taking over.
I couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the advantages and disadvantages of the internet, I think the main takeaway is that it's a powerful tool, but it's up to us to use it wisely.
Exactly. We need to be mindful of our usage, protect our privacy, and stay informed. But we also need to remember to have fun and to connect with others and to use the internet to make our lives better. So thanks for joining us on this journey. And until next time, stay curious.